Welcome back to week 4. We are going to jump into learning about shadow work and really digging into those parts of ourselves that we've suppressed, that we hide from others, that we hide from ourselves, and really learn to meet the potential that is lurking there as well, and some of the dreams that we've pushed down and have maybe forgotten about. So we're going to dig deep into who we are. So let's jump in. Let me share my screen. I mean, we have to admit, like, I'm getting pretty good at this whole like screen sharing thing, aren't I? If I haven't told you, I have two screens. If I'm looking this way, it's because my other screen is this way. I'm not just like casually having weird conversations this way. Or maybe I am. I don't know. You decide. But let's start with expectations per use. What you're going to get out of this week? Well, you're going to understand the importance of visualization and your vision. We're going to get a badass journaling exercise to you that's going to get to the root of what's stopping you. You're going to create a cool vision board or expand on your vision board if you haven't yet. Created one already. And then for all you psychology buffs, you're going to get an understanding of the terms shadow self, shadow work, id, ego, and super ego. And of course, we're going to keep discovering which limiting beliefs are stopping you from achieving everything you want on your vision board. Let's get into it. Okay. So what is shadow work? Have you heard of this term before? Here's how psychoanalyst Carl Jung, he's the one that he coined it, actually defines it. Shadow work is the act of becoming aware and understanding the unconscious part of our character or personality that does not align with the ideal version of what we are aiming for. So within all of us, we have this idealized version of ourselves and another part that conflicts with this ideal self, and that part is our shadow. Okay. So often, the part of us that conflicts with that ideal is the part that has these impulsive urges or desires or things that we feel, but we don't really like about ourselves. And maybe we don't like them because we don't like them, or we don't like them because society tells us, but mostly because we have been conditioned to avoid things that conflict with what is deemed as the societal blueprint. So, AKA, look a certain way, act a certain way, feel a certain way. So we shove it all down. But guess what? She's still there. Now you have this tug of war between the idealized self and the shadow self. It causes us to reject and really resist the shadow, which causes us to project onto others and makes us believe that something is intrinsically wrong with us. Cue shame for real. This is where shame comes from. I'm gonna adjust because the sun's coming in weird, and I shouldn't care like what I look like, but I don't want it to be distracting to you. Okay, this feels good. But this shows up, and we start to project, right? What I was saying, we start to project onto other people, or we start to project and come to the narrative that something is wrong with us, and we have a lot of shame about that. Shame about this. Now, this shows up in our dislike for certain people. Often, the things that we dislike in others are what we dislike in ourselves. There's some sort of work there that is asking to be done. Now, these qualities are the ones that we push down or we avoid, and that can lead us to having a very warped perception of how things actually are. Now, to understand the shadow, let's go and understand the id and the ego. You know that guy Freud, he coined these terms. I'm sure you're familiar before him. Most people know his name. Now, our id is our instinctual layer to our personality and was born the moment that we were. So it's what drives our desires, our impulses, the need for food, shelter, companionship, to be loved and accepted. That's our id, okay? The id is driven by impulse, by desire, by instant gratification. And it's really, really wants to avoid pain and discomfort. It wants nothing to do with it. So your id is like very like hedonistic, wants to feel all the good in the world and none of the pain. Now, when we are born with our id. However, as we gather more experiences, our ego begins to develop. And an ego isn't just like this thing that the meathead at the gym has too much of, okay? Where the id is your pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain. Your ego is how we decide how we want to show up and how we choose to present ourselves. And it's colored by our experiences, our beliefs, and our values. So Freud taught us that the ego is the mind's way of taking stock of the world around us and then acclimating itself based on what it feels is appropriate and will help us fit in, right? Which is like a basic human survival mechanism. Now, this is in contrast to the id, which acts according to the pursuit of pleasure and pain avoidance. Okay. So the ego is really taking stock of the world and it's acclimating based on what it feels, and it's going to fit in accordingly. That's opposite of the id, which is acting in pursuit of all things that feel good and absolutely wants to avoid the stuff that feels like shit. Okay. Now the ego, it's really, it mediates the id and your super ego, which is your moral compass. Okay. Your super ego is your moral compass. And the ego, it really mediates the id and your super ego, and delaying gratification and in making executive decisions to not act on every impulse, but to really act in alignment with our values and how we think we should behave, okay? Rather than how we want to behave, okay? So your super ego, which is, kind of the mediator between the two, is saying, okay, hey, ego, you really want this. Hey, ego, you really want this. And it's mainly, or I'm sorry, hey, id, you want this. Hey, whatever, super ego, that you want this. The ego is like, hey, let me mediate. Let me find a comfort, I'm losing my train of thought, a compromise between the two of them. Okay. So I want to do this right now. Super ego, it's really wrong to do that. Super fear-based, moral compass. Ego's like, let's find a compromise. Okay. That took me a long time to explain. But you're with me. I know it. Think of kiddos. They're ruled by their id. When you were a kid, you were ruled by your id. Kids, they act on every impulse. They seek to avoid all pain, and they need it all right now. Okay. Now, as we mature, we learn that not impulses are actually constructive, and not all pain is to be avoided, that there are actually lessons in that discomfort. Now, the more we experience and the more we learn, the more we awaken to our own thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, the better we are able to tell the difference between those constructive and deconstructive impulses. Okay? Was that like being in a psychology class? Psychology school. I love it. I'm shifting again. Okay, definitely not this one. I mean, like, I love being in the sun right now, but it's like getting in my eyes. I can't see. Can't read my notes. Okay. All right. Look at a little action figure. Isn't that cool? I had one of Freud as well, but I didn't include him in this. Carl Jung says that the meeting with oneself is at first the meeting with one's own shadow. The shadow is a tight passage, a narrow door, whose painful construction no one is spared who goes down to the deep well. But one must learn to know oneself in order to know who one is. Oof, chills. Jung explained that the shadow really is a cognitive blind spot for our psyche. It's this undercurrent of who we are, and we're completely unaware of it a lot of times. And it lives in our subconscious, and it's a mix of our repressed desires, ideas, instincts, weaknesses, shortcomings. It's just this ball of stuff, right? It's that space between the ego and the id, right? It's that shadow is caused by the friction that is sparked when we are living a life that the ego has deemed the best way for us to fit in, and the impulses and desires our id is pulling us towards, right? So again, there's friction. The shadow is caused by that friction of your ego saying, hey, this is the best way for us to fit in and to do life. And our id say, nah, bruh, this is not how I pictured my life, and I don't like it. Okay. Neither is right or wrong. Neither is right or wrong, but it's really finding that balance and understanding what is it that you want versus what is now what the ego has now deemed as the best way to fit in. That's what we need to figure out. What is it that you want, not what the programming has told you to want? Jung describes this shadow as the thing a person has no wish to be. So he says your shadow is the thing that you do not want to be. You don't want other people seeing this. You don't even want to look at it. Well, we may not like what we see when we begin to look at our shadow. We see its importance for our personal development. However, that shadow will keep presenting itself in very destructive ways in our repeated patterns, in our behaviors, and how we think, until we really deal with it. It really is that, again, that undercurrent that is just kind of guiding so much behind the scenes. Now, many of the self-destructive behaviors that we inflict on ourselves are actually caused by the shadow. And some addictions are even driven by the conflict that we experience from the shadow, right? Now, within the impulses of the shadow, there are also little, I call them gold nugs of where we can grow and develop. For example, if we believe that being assertive makes us bad people, we may have allowed other people to push us around or to push our boundaries while we said absolutely nothing because we didn't want to rock the boat. However, when we dig around our shadow long enough, it actually may contain a rage and anger when our boundaries are crossed. So, bridge the gap. Our shadow is wanting us to push back and share our truth. So, how can we do that in a healthy way? A lot of times, other gold nugs in your shadow are maybe dreams that you pushed down that you thought, well, I could never do that because of, XYZ, insert limiting belief and narrative, right? But it's interesting too, like when we dig in our shadow, we actually can learn to harness this element of our shadow so that when we're in a position that requires strong boundaries or negotiation, we have that ability to say no and really hold our ground. Now, other examples could include maybe not speaking up because we grew up being told that our thoughts didn't matter, or it was modeled that vulnerability equals weakness. Or maybe every time we spoke up, there was a big fight that happened around us. But our shadow is telling us that we have the ability to create and withhold boundaries because of that anger, because of that assertiveness lurking there in the shadow. We could use that in a destructive way, of course, or we can embody what our shadow is asking of us and say, there's friction, embody me a little bit more and round out your personality even more. Our shadow really can help us understand ourselves and understand others, because when we know our own shadow and we see hints of it in other people, we can be a hell of a lot more compassionate about what they're feeling and going through. And whether the nature of our whatever the nature of our shadow, knowing it will really help us accept it, and accepting it will not only loosen its hold over us, but it will also begin to unlock its potential, which is awesome. Now, what's really important is we have to really explore those beliefs that are lurking in your shadow that continuously hinder you from achieving everything you want on that 111 list, everything you want on that vision board. Well, I definitely can't see. I don't know what to do. Hold on. You know what's so great is like this is real life. Like I made this cute little cultivated scene back here. And then like everything else is kind of over here. So like the more I switch perspectives because of the sun, the more you can like see stuff. So welcome to my world. Oh, hey Carl. Carl and your little action self. Okay, so let's do it. Let's explore it. Let's dig into your own shadow, okay? So I want you to kind of walk through this journal exercise. Walk through it again after we finish. Go ahead and take care of this. We actually have a lot of journaling within this one because this is a really deep lesson that we are embarking on here and really going into the shadow. So I want you to write down everything you want, everything you desire, every detail, everything that you want to be, do, have, all of it, spare nothing. Okay. If you've done your 111 list, if you've or started it, if you have a vision board already, or if you finished it, you can use that as inspiration for this exercise. Then I want you to, as soon as like you're writing this all down, right? You're like, I want this and I want that and I want to be this and I want to be that and I want you to write any thoughts that immediately pop into your mind, okay, that are going to kind of feed you the narrative or the excuse that you're not able to achieve that, or tells you why you can't have that thing, okay, because that's your limiting belief. This is your work, okay. Literally do this until you can't think of anything else, right? For each of the things on your list, like write down as many things as that pop into your mind that are feeding you that area that you can't do it. Okay. Then I want you to write down all of the ways that those beliefs currently affect your reality, how they affect how you show up, how it impacts your money, how you show up in career, relationships, where do you not speak your mind, where do you not advocate for yourself, where do you feel inauthentic, what do you think about yourself, what are your coping mechanisms? Okay, so write down all of those beliefs and how they currently impact you. Okay. Now, I want you to circle then the top 3 things you want to set the intention of letting go. Okay. And then connect to that feeling of what it feels like to no longer be chained to these beliefs. How would you feel if you didn't have this thing? Who would you be? How would you show up differently? What would you think about? What would what would be different about your reality if you didn't believe this thing about yourself to be true? Um, and then we want to write down the beliefs that you'd actually like to believe instead. So putting them in I am format. So instead of like, I think of myself as being lazy and never getting off the couch, I want to believe that I am healthy. I am worthy of the health that I desire for myself. You see what I'm saying? Now I want you to start making those decisions little by little um, that are going to support this new belief that you are wishing to embody. So start small, right? So you want to start small and make bigger decisions. And you want to feed that reticular activating system with more and more evidence that you are actually moving in the direction that you want your life to flow and that it's actually safe. Okay. So you go through that again. This is a really, really important exercise because it's important for us to know, okay, well, hey, I want these things. I want to be these things. I strive to be these things, but these are really the narratives that are popping up. So this is essentially the alignment gap, right? Like the things that are your alignment gap, the things that's like in between where you are now and where you want to be. I love it. Don't look at my piano. All right. And 2, okay. So now we have some more journal prompts, and you can kind of go through them yourself. I'm not going to sit here and read all of them for you, but they're really going to kind of help you meet your shadow, uncover those limiting beliefs even further. Okay. For example, before you can really manifest a new reality, you need to meet the parts of you that don't believe that it's possible to actually create that reality. So here are some reflection prompts that you can kind of go through that's going to help you just acclimate and meet your shadow a little bit more intimately. And then step 2, just kind of like what we went through with the other journaling prompt, is let's uncover the limiting belief. Every block that you uncover is rooted in that old story that your subconscious has created to keep you safe, right? It keeps looping it over and over and over again. Let's bring those to light. So there's some more prompts that you can work on. Example, the vision, I want to start my own business. The belief is I'm not disciplined enough. The deeper truth is if I fail, people will not see that I'm good enough. Or people will see I'm not good enough. I'm an imposter. That is something that I actually came to when I was working through this myself. So, I mean, it gets deep for sure. Next step in this process is now we want to reframe and rewire it. So it's just like we did in the other process. Here's more of those reframe prompts to kind of help with that as well. Now we're really taking what your shadow has revealed and beginning to rewrite this, right? So there's some prompts that you can go through. Here's my own example, right? The old belief is I'm not disciplined enough. The new belief is I'm learning to create structure that supports my peace and purpose. This is real life stuff that I've been working on and I'm still working on to this day that I am putting out here for you. And next, like we keep talking about, somatic integration is so important that we shift the narrative in our body as well, and we get that stagnant energy out, because belief change doesn't just happen in your mind; it happens in your entire body. So try this grounding exercise, kind of walk through it. As you work to kind of add new things to your vision board, move through it. I would say, I would say like 3 times before you really jump into this next kind of final action, which is your aligned visioning, right? Remember, every single lesson that we embark on in this membership is starting us with the end in mind. Where do we want to go? How do we need to get there? What blocks do we need to get out of the way? And where are we now, right? So this is just taking us a step further. Now that your shadow feels seen and understood, your nervous system is open to creation, and is ready for you to kind of feed it a new vision. So here's some more. prompts for you to continue to add to your board and to create your vision board. Oh, wait, I didn't put it up on the screen for you. I had it in my notes. Here's some more prompts for you that you can use to kind of go a little bit deeper. So these prompts and then the other kind of longer journal prompt, they all kind of go work in tandem with one another. So do them all at once, or you can treat them as two separate activities, whatever feels best for you, my dear. Let's talk about kind of what you're going to get out of the next week, right? Kind of had a full, that was a lot, right? There was like a lot of information I feel like I just threw at you. So it's okay if you feel a little bit disoriented. So just ground yourself, okay? What you're going to get out of week 5, you're going to recognize the hidden purpose behind the traits that you've judged and suppressed. So those things that are in your shadow, let's start to understand what their hidden purpose actually is. We're going to learn to meet your shadow with compassion instead of shame. We're going to transform so-called negative traits into empowered traits. We're going to really do some nervous system healing, teaching your brain that all parts of you are safe to express. And you're going to walk away feeling a lot more integrated and grounded and at peace with who you truly are. Doesn't that sound awesome? I'm really looking forward to the next week and embarking on that journey with you. Awesome. You got some action items. You're probably aware of them. It's a lot. I can't get there it is, my cursor. It's a lot of journaling, I know, but it is worth it. Create a cozy environment, start completing your vision board. I want you to post it where you can see it. Use your 111 list for this as well. If you already have a vision board, add to it. Definitely finish those journaling exercises, and definitely continue to listen to this month's affirmations and keep rewiring that subconscious of yours. So man, we have scooted all over my mudroom. But I hope that you have a beautiful day, and I'm really excited for you to embark on shadow work, because it is just amazing what we can find when we're willing to have an honest conversation with ourselves and really allow ourselves to grow. So I will see you next week. Bye.